Can you hear us now, Commissioner Overton? No, not yet.
Give us a minute while we work through this.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Overton.
And I will make a note that Doug Thompson with our Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette is here. Thank you, Doug, for coming. Appreciate that. But what I was going to say is you are sitting today in the 34th fastest growing county in the country of more than 3,000 counties. So to put that in perspective, it's about the top 1 percentile. And so we appreciate when we have folks from Little Rock and come up and give us a little bit of attention. We're going through a bit of a project now where we're doing some expansion, and we look back about 20 years ago, the Northwest Arkansas Regional Planning Commission, which does a lot of our regional planning, projected that this area by 2020 was going to grow to the unimaginable size of about 165,000 people. Well, we missed it by a little over 100,000. We have almost 280,000 going to 300,000 now. And so a huge part of that is what's going on with our veterans population. And I'll introduce Lee in a minute to talk about that. But just wanted to say we're very excited by the project that we've been working on and very excited that you all are here. And if there's anything we can do to make you a little more comfortable during your day here, just raise your hand and holler. We're happy to do that. And just glad that you're here. And so with that, I think I'm going to introduce Lee. So Lee, come on up. Lee Howerton is one of our veteran service officers, and she is substituting today for Patrick Robinson. Unfortunately, Patrick is ill, sounds very ill. I've talked to him. And so Lee, why don't you tell us a little bit about the veterans population here in Benton County?
So good morning, everyone. It's a privilege to have you here. My name is Lee Howerton, the Benton County Veteran Service Officer. The Benton County vet population has significantly increased, close to 16,000 veterans. We have a very engaged community that's here with different veteran service organizations. Also with Benton County from this morning, the future home of the Arkansas State Veterans Home and the future home of the Veterans Healthcare System of the Ozarks, the outpatient community clinic that will be in Bella Vista, Arkansas. So we're very happy, very pleased and looking forward to that. So.
I'm sorry, is there any questions? Anyone have any questions?
I will share that Judge Moran.
Okay, I finally got a hold of Zulay.
Okay.
She's getting a hold of her laundry
Service
people.
officer.
They're supposed to bring me some
Correct.
rags up here, and I'm
Myself,
gonna do this
Patrick
Monday
Robinson,
and
who
Thursday.
is the county
That way I
veteran
get
service
a little
officer,
break in between.
and then Jessica,
So,
our admin.
we'll get on it Monday.
that's there.
Okay, so
That's
All right.
quite a commitment.
and my goal.
Veterans. I don't know of any other county that has 3 veteran service officers. Thank you, Judge.
Okay.
What's your average?
Well, I've got a ladder
just so
over
you
there.
know,
I carried over
average
the
number
laundry
of
to- I have
appointments
to grab that.
monthly?
Oh, okay.
Normally on app,
Sounds good to me.
And see what we can get this.
Yeah.
If you have your open mic,
I'm trying. I'm not there yet.
Did we just tell them on Zoom maybe to hit mute?
Ever since then, they all hate. Not too long after, right here,
Good. What's your average number of appointments a month that the 3 of you handle in that office?
a month. In person for the appointments, close to 200, 300. That's not considering the walk-ins, also the appointments that we do by phone. Yeah, and that's including also surviving spouses of the veterans who come in. So we do service a lot of veterans that come, of course, just right across the Missouri line from Bella Vista. We've even had some that come from Oklahoma. So yeah, but rough estimate, I don't have the exact numbers, but yeah, at least close to 300. So a month.
excellent.
They do a
Thank you.
great job as well. Patrick and Lee.
Thank
I've
you.
sent quite a few veterans over there. Take care of. I've been in that place 3 or 4 times, but they do a great job. So
Thank you very much.
And where do you live at, Commissioner?
Here in Bentonville,
I think you're a little bit partial, but
it's close for me.
yeah.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, very proud of what we do. So,
Did you say 16,000?
yes, close to 16,000 here in Benton County. Yeah. And we're seeing more and more. Every day we have new people that have just moved here. The biggest that we've seen that's moved here is from Colorado. Several from California that are moving here. But yeah, so close to 16,000.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Any other
You're
questions?
very welcome.
Okay.
All
Thank you
right,
very
thank
much.
you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, every time I forget this, I'd like for our guests to let us know who they are. I'm supposed to do that before we start with the secretary, but I forget it. I've been doing this 2 years and I forget it every time. We start over here with you, sir, so we'll know who's in the room with us.
Oh, the judge introduced me. I'm Doug Thompson. I'm with the
I am James Turner. I work for Benton County. I'm Director of IT.
Thank you very much.
And I would remind you, since we are on Zoom, that you need to be sure that you speak into your microphone so all participants can hear you.
You, sir.
My name's Birch Farley. I'm with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, the Vet Center in Fayetteville. We are a PTSD therapy clinic essentially for combat vets and military sexual trauma victims.
Thank you, sir.
Ronnie Young, I'm with the Marine Corps League, 854 detachment up here in Northwest Arkansas. And I'm glad to be here today.
Hi, my name is Dave Neiman, and I'm also with the Marine Corps League in Northwest Arkansas. We appreciate whatever you guys are doing for us and all the veterans that need assistance from around the state. Thank you very much.
Tom Wright, Marine Corps League. I'm from Bella Vista.
Gilly Brandolini with the Office of Congressman Steve Womack.
Thank you.
Devin Noblet with the Office of Senator Tom Cotton.
And I'm Missy Lambert. I'm with the Office of Senator John Bozeman, and I primarily do casework that is very veteran focused. And this is our intern, Becca Brown, from the University of Arkansas.
Hi, Becca.
I'm Melody Kwa, Communications Director for Benton County.
Well, good morning. It's great to see all you guys. Jody Bergstrom with Camp Alliance. We connect all of our services and resources back to our military, our veterans, and their families. So it's great to be here. It's great to see all you guys here today.
Good morning. I'm Steve Eggensberger. I'm Governor Hutchinson's Military and Public Safety Liaison.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Michael Long. I'm the outgoing Military and Veterans Affairs Liaison for Senator Bozeman.
Thank you all very much for coming and joining us today. It's important that we have our guest here from the local organizations, and I'm glad you took the time out to visit with us. I'm going to turn it back over to the secretary now. I'm
Thank you,
sorry.
Mr. Chairman. Is Mr. Lytle, is he on Zoom?
Yes, can you hear me?
We sure can. Ms. Lytle,
Okay,
thank
I'm
you
sorry
for being
about
with
that.
us.
I've been having some technical difficulties here. I'm with the Division of Workforce Services.
Mr.
here
Lyles
at,
with Department of Workforce Services.
here in Little Rock. I'm the Intensive Services Coordinator. I help, I oversee all the disabled veteran reps in the local offices throughout the state. So I've got a brief just
presentation to show you all for about 5 minutes, just a down and dirty presentation to show exactly what they do and where they're at. So
Ms. Lyle, your slide is up. Please go ahead.
If I find
Okay,
a
yeah,
contract,
okay.
I've got to come with my, I've got to come with my, I don't even know if these people that are trying to register are people.
okay, I'm not seeing my slide, but
It doesn't
everybody
matter.
else see it?
She can't block legally allowed voters. She can't do that.
Hey, please,
I mean,
if
she
you
can't
are
block a group of
talking,
people
we
from
can hear you.
voting who
Will
should
you please
legally
mute
be
your
allowed
mic?
to vote. They are delegates. Oh, so I've got to go do some reading, but I will get back, with you. But yes, main thing is we're going to
Hello?
slow it down. That's kind of the strategy. So we don't want to leak our strategy.
Hello.
Hello, you are in public domain.
But well, you could, Lori and our people about it, but not. We just don't want it getting to.
Commissioner Shields, could you please mute your mic? Commissioner Shields, could you please mute your mic? Your
Mr. Lyle, we're gonna come back to you.
Okay.
Mr. Mallocker, would you provide us your brief, please? Thank you.
Please take a stand. I may hold you in contempt.
Girl, would you go to Commissioner Malacker's slide? Ms. Lyle, we'll come back to you, sir.
Okay, no problem.
But they can't.
I
Paul,
think
they
the
won't be
problem
able
is
to
they
hear
can't
you.
hear you on Zoom.
Okay. All righty. Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning. Paul Malacher. Brief introduction. I'm chairman of the working group. This is a working group. For those of you who don't know, we were tasked with three primary things, and we're kind of in phase 2 of the operation. So let me just give you a backup. This small working group is put together of commissioners and a few of the stakeholders, and we were tasked with a couple things. Do we need a new home or not? We went through a data-driven, very process-focused, analytical set of procedures to go through and decide what do we need to do with the Fayetteville home when the lease runs out here in a couple of years. Gone through that process. We've determined everybody kind of knows where we're at. And thanks, Judge, for working behind the scenes to procure the land. And part of this, the next phase of what we needed to do is we needed to ask ourselves in kind of the similar fashion of let's take a disciplined approach. Let's look at the data and let's do some analysis and determine, would it be in the state's best interest? Would it be in our veterans' best interest? Do we need to contract out the management of that home itself? So that's what the phase 2 of this operation of this small working group is. Well, what do we need to know to make that decision? Let's see, what are the entities out there who would be interested in running this home? Let's develop the metrics and then let's put it out for bid. And then let's bring that data back in and then let's make a good informed recommendation and decision going forward as to whether or not we need to contract out that home. So quick, short, here's the deal. The bid solicitation went out on the street June 23rd. And I put the bid solicitation number on there so you can actually just Google that. And then you can go, it takes you to the Arkansas Buy website. And there's all kind of good data. You can see all the questions that have been submitted. Correct me if I'm wrong, Colonel Ingram, but I think we have 2 interested entities. Okay, so we have 2 companies that have stepped up and said, yep, I'm interested in contracting out that home. And they did a mandatory bid walkthrough. Now they're in the process of reviewing and preparing their proposal. The bids are due July 27th. It'll be a public opening via Zoom. You can log on. If you go to this website, Google the solicitation number, then you can see the date. You can get your link so you can actually watch as we read aloud the bids. So what'll happen then after the 27th is we'll do what's called the initial proposal reviews. And that's a small team that's been put together inside this working group. We'll go through with the procurement folks and we'll make sure that all the boxes are checked, all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, those kind of things. So make sure that everything's submitted properly in the right format. We'll do an initial proposal review. And then we are planned to schedule in-person interviews August 3rd and August 4th. Key thing I want to highlight on this is a little bit of a challenge for everybody involved, but we were able to pull this off. It's not the lowest bidder. And I think that's key. I'm in the contracting world. It's what I do for a living, right? And sometimes it's not the best thing to have the lowest bid. So we were able to work creatively with the procurement folks in the state and develop what's called a most advantageous proposal. Cost is a component. We have fiduciary responsibility to our taxpayers, correct? But also we have a little bit of intangible in that we really want to make sure that who we entrust that care to really has our veterans' best interest in mind. So we have the ability to do some scoring, some subjectivity, a couple of different criteria, and look at it and say, you know what? Here's the cost of this company. We have some concerns. Maybe that might not be the most. You have a little flexibility there. I'm very proud of that process. So let me just briefly highlight what the scoring criteria are. If you could go to the next slide, please. So the evaluation committee, what we're going to do is develop what's called the most advantageous proposal. I mentioned that it's based 25% of your experience. So we wanted an entity that has experience working with veterans' homes. We wanted that specifically. And there's a minimum criteria set forth. What is your proposed solution? How do you plan as a private entity to manage this home? Demonstrate to us that you know the home, you know our current occupancy rate, you know the currency or current challenges, and what is your proposed solution to manage this home effectively? Identify any key risks that you as an interested entity submitting a bid view as potential risks for this project. And then 35% is the interview. We have a small group of key stakeholders, various interested folks who are going to be part of that interview team. So then what we're going to do is called a grand total score. So that's a combination of your technical score, which are these 4 criteria, plus your cost. And then from that, we will, as a group, decide, hey, we believe that this firm is the most advantageous proposal. That small committee will make the recommendation to Secretary Todd. And then I think I have one more slide.
It was like 16. It's because we couldn't get guys.
So yes, we'll finalize it August 25th. And then ideally, Secretary Todd in September. I think that's currently on the calendar with the governor. Secretary Todd, maybe some folks out of that working group that did the interviews will make the recommendation to the governor and ultimately the governor decides. So at the end of the day, here's the deal. We got a new home. We got some great land. We have a great opportunity. But we also need to evaluate whether it's cost effective and the best option for our veterans.
It was back when we had the snipers.
So you can see we're kind of juggling balls.
Oh, you were there? Okay, all right. You remember me?
I do. So with that, I'll open up to any quick questions.
The decision is the secretary's decision.
Okay.
We will brief the governor.
Here's what it is.
Our recommendation of that group will be to you. So, okay. I appreciate clarification on that.
So close.
At the end of the day, I think we've got a great process involved. We have the opportunity to select the right firm if that's the direction we go. But we're also disciplined through the process. And we need to consider status quo. What if we keep going the way we're going? Can we just improve the options? So that's on the table as well.
We hope so. It was just
Hey,
so
I'm
easy to
excited.
walk
We have an
outside.
opportunity for a new home and we have an opportunity to provide top-notch care
Got
for
more
our
guys to
veterans.
school.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just tell you,
Not sure where the
Paul, I
right
appreciate your
is.
work because I know we meet quarterly.
Good deal. I'll get out of here.
Paul's group has been meeting almost weekly. And it just seems like there was one meeting right to another, and we had to get with Carol and said, Carol, are we missing a meeting here because we had this one? And but I without fear of contradiction, there's no doubt we were having at least 3 meetings a month. And Paul, you
How you doing?
you were the catalyst behind that, and we appreciate it. Thank you very
Appreciate that.
much.
Thank you, sir.
We're lucky to have such great talent on those commissions as Paul. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm a little nervous.
Oh, don't run off.
Oh, I tried. Mr. Clemmer. Sir, you have a question? He's notorious for always having questions for derail meetings. Anyway.
That's all I do.
Yeah.
I don't answer anything. I just ask questions. Have we
got
determined an
everything you need?
evaluation committee yet?
I think it's some invitations went out. Colonel Inger, if I'm correct, I think we had a handful of invitations that go out. It's not been fully finalized. But I do know,
Has not been, we have two that we're still waiting, I'm still waiting on a response.
Okay.
from as- Commissioner Ford and Commissioner Shields.
okay, it's not fully been finalized. I think some invitations did go out. We try to get a good mix of different stakeholders who have good, different perspectives on making that recommendation and evaluating those proposals.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Clammer, that team is 5 or 7 currently?
It's 5, sir.
It's 5, and then there'll be 2 alternates.
Please.
Buster McCall,
Mhm.
the current staff, I'm just curious from an HR standpoint, if it goes to a private contractor, is there a plan in place to absorb those employees elsewhere? I say that because working for the VA, Buster's been good with the VA. We've worked well with them for years, literally. So it's just a curiosity.
Well, a decision has not been made to contract that out. We have been engaged with the Office of Personnel Management at the state. They have a lot of experience in moving staff members to positions. You'd be surprised how many positions the state has in Northwest Arkansas. We will have that team come up and brief. I personally briefed the staff at the Fayetteville Veteran Home before the solicitation went out. However, the Office of Personnel Management will meet with that group within the next 30 days, if I'm correct. Colonel Ingram?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
That's correct.
Good question. We have to take care of people. Thank you.
Is it possible or cost effective to hire veterans in that new facility as employees primarily?
I would say, yes, we're having it, and we need your help now. If you have veterans that are in healthcare, LPNs, CNAs, we have 3 administrative positions that are open, HR, an analyst. We've tried to recruit for an assistant administrator. So if you have veterans, please point them, food service. Please point them to the Arkansas Department of Veterans Affairs. We'd be more than happy to hire veterans. Yes.
One of the things also you need to look at the pay that you're offering to people. Because right now, the PRN is paid more on the outside than they are in the veterans home.
That is correct. The tool that we use in state government is called a local market rate analysis. That will adjust the pay based on the local market. We requested that. We do have a geographical differential and of course the state's benefit. But the bottom line is take home salary in this area is more than we are currently able to offer our personnel. We continue to work through this. We hope to have some retention and recruitment capability in the next federal fiscal year. So I appreciate your analysis on that. We have tried to address it. It's tough.
It's a challenge, and that's one of the reasons we were looking at the option of how do private companies manage this same. I'm in the same business as a private company. So the idea was maybe some of the private entities have a way that they can do that and scale it. So we're optimistic to see what they can come back with, but they recognize that that has been a challenge. Good question.
More questions?
Is there any, I know this question's been asked before down south. Are the guests at the hometown going to be notified of this or ask their opinion of it, or the families, the opinion of, from the families?
Hang on just a minute. The person that's speaking, we can't hear him.
Okay. My name's Lonnie Young. I'm with the Marine Corps League in Northwest Arkansas. My question is, are the families being notified of this type of a change? And are their input going to be involved? And is there going to be an additional cost to this move, to this change? That's something that needs to be at least looked at.
There, we have a residence council and we have a family council. We have shared information in reference to the process. We have not shared that there has been a decision made. Under COVID, I'm not aware if we've had a family council. Mr. McCall, are you on?
Yes, sir, I am. And no, we have not had a family council meeting since the decision to investigate outsourcing has happened. The family council is aware, and we have talked to the resident council about it.
But we will engage the family council because of COVID restrictions. We've chose not to have a family council. That seems to be leveling off. So we thank you for sharing that with us. We will have a family council and officially notify them.
I just want to add one comment. I think it's relevant to just to give everybody comfort. One of the key components of the scoring criteria is continuing operations. So that is a key component of we don't need to disrupt, and we need to ensure that we have a good plan on making a transition if that's ultimately what the decision becomes. But that is a key component of the scoring criteria, managing the families in the transition if that occurs.
Paul, too, I think, we get moving into something like this. And I think a lot of people out there kind of lose track of maybe what our vision is, but I promise you, the commissioners up here, we're not on this commission for money. If you're on this commission for money, you're losing money. And our whole mission is to make sure that veterans are taken care of. This new facility is not where you go for veterans to die. It's to give them a more quality of living. And that's our whole purpose, is to help every one of those veterans out there. And a lot of us here are combat veterans from Vietnam. We understand that. And I can just assure you that every member on this commission that we're for veterans, and we're trying to do everything we can to help their quality of life. And I wish we had 3 or 4 homes, but we just don't have the money for that right now.
Any other questions? Last chance.
Thank you, Mr. Malacca.
Jamie, did you have?
Mr. Lyle, are you still with us?
I hope so. Can y'all hear me?
We can, and
Okay.
thank you for staying with us. Placing veterans into employment, into careers is important. That mission is with the Department of Workforce Services. We thank them that they're here today to give us environmental awareness and a situational awareness. Ms. Lytle, please.
I posted my PowerPoint presentation on there too. Can everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Second slide there. This is going to be just a real quick down and dirty overview of what the Division of Workforce Services does for the veterans. We have special veteran reps in most of the offices throughout the state, especially in Northwest Arkansas. We have one in Rogers and one in Fayetteville. They're called DVOPS, Disabled Veteran Outreach Program Monitors, commonly known as DVOPS, and they handle nothing but disabled veterans. As long as that veteran comes in and he's disabled, service connected, they're going to be treated with priority. Okay. What that means is, he's going to be taken in. They're going to do a labor market information on him. They're going to help him find job assistance. They're going to help him with resume assistance. And if need be, if he's in the Chapter 31 program, he automatically is going to be referred over from the VA to the Division of Workforce Services for labor market information and also for job placement assistance. So we strive to get these DVOPs throughout the whole state, whether they're in Rogers, Blytheville, Texarkana, wherever, to check with these veterans to say, hey, if you're service connected and you want to go back to school, we're going to help you out, but we want them, well, they have to go through the VA. But once the VA approves that, then the VA passes those veterans back to us. And then that's where we come in and we help those veterans with job placement. And that's something that I'm very passionate about, have been for a long, long time. It's, well, I got these veterans, they didn't, they worked their butts off to get where they're at, and they need all the help they can get. But back to my slide there, each DVOP is assigned to a specific local office. They're trained employment services individuals who are qualified. Must be a disabled veteran first. They have to be a disabled veteran, service connected, to hold that position. Number two, they have to hold a college degree. And above all, they got to be a good people person for good communication purposes. So, they can interact with those folks. And now each one of them, whenever they're hired on here, we have a special program in Dallas, Texas. It's the National Veterans Training Institute. And they go through case management. They go through several different courses about how to, the DVOP special core, where they, some of it is online and some of it is in class, how to perform the labor market information, how to assist the veteran in case management, walk him through the process of, helping him with resume assistance, helping him with interview skills, assisting him with USA jobs. As a matter of fact, if the veteran wants to get a federal job, we help them with that too. So, it's one of those things that they're all trained to do. And that, we pride ourselves on being pretty passionate and being very trained up to do that. Now, each individual assigned as a DVOP trained special needs, they got to be at least 10% or more service connected. Now, we also assist with, like I said earlier, with the vocational rehab and employment counselors for the Chapter 31 program. And there's the website right there. And we encourage that all the DVOPs talk to the veterans, say, hey, if you're service connected and you're not going through this program, you're just spinning your wheels, because this is a real good program. If nobody's ever been through it or just knows a little bit about it, they need to check into it, because it's a real good program to where the disabled vet can be retrained in another program or occupation that will not exacerbate their disabilities. And I've been through it. Most of our DVOPs have been through it. So it's a real good program. And it's, I can't say enough good things about it, but we assist all the counselors with that program with veterans as well. Next slide I'm going to bring up. These were all the local offices of the DVOPs are assigned. Now, if you notice there at Little Rock, we've got two. We've got one at the Little Rock local office on South University. And then we've got another one that's assigned to Fort Roots, and that's me most of the time. But right now they're doing some remodeling of some of the offices there. So right now I'm working out of the central office here at number 2 Capitol Mall. If you'll notice, we've got Fort Smith, Blytheville, Russellville, Searcy, Pine Bluff, Harrison, Jonesboro. Now we do not have one in Jacksonville because they closed that office about 6-8 months ago. So the folks that were working in Jacksonville have moved up to Searcy. We also have in Fayetteville, Rogers, Benton, Hope, Mena, and in Monticello and Paragould. Now we've got 2 DVOPs that work half employment services and half as veteran services. And that's something that we can do through the Department of Labor. They fund most of this program, so they kind of tell us where we can do this, how we can utilize these DVOPs. But for the most part, all of those except those 2, Monticello and Paragould, are all full-time DVOPs, and that's all they do is just work on veterans, disabled veterans to help them obtain employment. Okay, next slide. I want to go down here. And also we have local veteran employment representatives. Now what those folks do is they go out to the business area, to the businesses around town, wherever they're located. and chat with all local business owners about hiring veterans. Will they be disabled veterans or just regular veterans just coming off of active duty or whatever? They go out and they chat with different businesses and go to job fairs. They go to Chamber of Commerce meetings. They make themselves pretty well known around the community, so that way they can assist in getting veterans to the correct jobs that they were looking for. They also help out with applying for looking at bringing in new job leads for the Division of Workforce Services. They can also put in those job leads in our database. We currently have probably right now, I'd say today, roughly 40,000 active job listings statewide, and they are for everybody, not just veterans, but for anybody that's looking for work. But we prioritize a lot of those positions to where they're for veterans. Veterans get first priority. So that's kind of where we are with that. Also, each leaver must be a 4-year disabled veteran also. They've got to have a 4-year college degree. And just like the DVOP, they got to be a good people person. They've got to have a good personality. They've got to be able to converse with folks, have good communication skills. And again, all the leavers go through the National Veteran Training Institute in Dallas, Texas. They have special programs to assist leavers on how to go out in the business world, go out and market veterans programs to business owners and whatnot. So it's a twofold thing between the DVOPs and the leavers. And sometimes the DVOPs even get to go out and do a little bit of handshaking as well. So it's not something that they just, the DVOPs just have to sit back and wait on the vets, because they are also allowed to go out and talk to people in the public arena, businesses. As a matter of fact, we've got a yellow ribbon event coming up there in Rogers in the next couple of weeks, and we participate in all those too. We've got a couple of DVOPs that are going to be up there. They're going to be there, I'm sure, at least one of the 2 days, and they're going to be assisting veterans with, getting enrolled in Arkansas Job Link. That's our job database. Also going to be helping spouses. We help the spouses as well. We also going to probably have a representative there from USERA in case if one of the, if a veteran is having problems with getting his old job back. We just had a new person come on board with USERA, and she is very well versed in the ins and outs of that. So we will go with that. Any questions for me at this point? I know that was kind of fast and furious, but I know there's going to be a lot of questions, probably more questions than law allows, but go ahead and fire.
Commissioner Ingram Phillips, and I'm from Van Buren County. I do have a question.
Yes, sir. Go. Yes, sir.
Looking at your the locations where your DVOPs and your LVERs and whatevers are located.
Yes, sir.
I noticed that there are the have-not counties, the rural counties that may be missing out. I'm wondering.
Well, of course, yes, sir. Maybe I didn't explain. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Of course.
My question then is, since I noticed there is an absence of counties like Faulkner, Van Buren, Stone. This goes up into Mountain View, Mountain Home. Is there opportunity for DVOPs to get the word out and to help people in that area?
Yes, sir. Now, there is a opening in the Faulkner County right now. I did not list that on there because it's currently open. We're in the process of interviewing. But now some of the more rural areas, these offices cover more than just one county. Like Hot Springs and I didn't have them put on there, but Hot Springs, for example, would cover, they cover Hot Springs County, they cover Montgomery, they cover Pike, and they're listed on the website exactly what counties they would be assigned. So most of these, like Fort Smith would cover, not Garland, but Sebastian, and also Crawford and some of the other counties. So just because these offices are assigned in different locations, they cover whatever counties the offices cover. So most of them cover multiple counties. So does that answer your question? Hello.
I'll get in touch with you directly. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Lyle. What we want to share is there are tremendous resources in the state. This entity in placing disabled veterans into careers is under the Department of Workforce Services, which is under the Department of Commerce. Of course, the education piece of the GI Bill veteran at our universities under the Department of Education. We have had collaborative efforts with all of these offices as the Arkansas Department of Veterans Affairs. The veterans of Arkansas have many resources. I will share with this one piece of data. The average household income of veterans is about $50,000 in the state of Arkansas. Veterans in Arkansas are contributing tremendously, not only to their communities, but to the economic environment here in Arkansas. And with that, I have Ms. Gina Chandler, our Assistant Director of Veteran Services, which has updated population projections for our state. Ms. Chandler?
Good morning. Can you hear me? Because my camera's working. Okay. I'm having camera problems. And I can't see what slide. Okay, you are on the DX. So here are the new fiscal numbers for.
We have your geographical distribution of expenditure.
Yes. Okay. So these are the numbers from the federal VA for FY21. We know they're a year behind, so they're not in real-time numbers. But what we wanted to look at is the total veteran population, which is now dipped under 200,000, and the total veterans receiving benefits are at 84,000. So even though we're dipping down, and that's, through not a lot of veterans coming out, and, that's through population migration, things of that nature, we're still getting veterans we're increasing veteran benefits. And so that's a plus for the state of Arkansas. We still rank 4th in the nation, one being the best as far as veterans spend, or national ranking for veterans spend. We are also.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay. I know Rebecca walked out, so hopefully it'll go. Lytle, can you?
Oh, I ain't over yet.
Mr. Lytle, can you mute?
Mr. Lyle, you need to mute your instrument, please.
Percentage of veterans.
Go ahead, Ms. Chandler.
Benefits, we're sitting at 43, which is an uptick 2% from fiscal year 2020. And also the geographical distribution of expenditures per veteran is 32,343, which is a slight increase over 2020. So all in all, even with COVID, everything going on, we're still getting veterans their benefits in the state of Arkansas, which I'm proud of. Next slide. And so you can see the slides that I do every year based on the veteran population. You can take that home with you and see what your counties are ranking, or what the veteran population is in the per county in the state of Arkansas. And then next slide, you can see the economic impact each county has, in their specific county. And a lot of them have gone up. I don't have the comparisons of side-by-side comparisons, but if you have your map from last year, you can look and see what counties have gone up as far as the money being brought into the county. I think that's all I have. Any questions?
Ms. Chandler, are you still with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have.
I share this economic impact. That's a collaborative effort. Our congressional delegation, the county veteran service officers, the district veteran service officers, the DAV, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the American Legion, we all are working together to ensure that that veteran, whether that veteran is in Texarkana, whether that veteran is in Blytheville, whether that veteran is in Eudora, whether that veteran is in Huntsville, that they have access to counsel and the benefit that they have earned. We are very proud of also, and regionally, we're one of the top states that have enrolled veterans in the VA healthcare. Why is that important? Once that veteran documents any ailments that they may have had resulting from their military service, they can file for their pension and compensation. We also are aware, and we're working with Camp Alliance, of the mental health of our veterans. And the Governor's Challenge, a collaborative effort with the Department of Human Services, Department of Health, to ensure that veterans' mental health improves in our state and reduction in suicide. We've had some great success there in Baxter County. We, in collaboration again with Camp Alliance and Ms. Bergstrom, thank you for being here, Ms. Bergstrom. We are going also to Garland County and Hot Springs County. And we have the data that indicates that the suicide per population there is one that we should be concerned with. And then we'll go throughout the state. This information is useful. We ask that you use it in your geographical area of the state with the county judges so that they also are aware of the economic impact that their veterans have. Ms. Chandler, thank you. Anything else?
I have a question for Ms. Chandler.
Yes.
If you're still there, Jeanette Ingram Phillips.
Yes, sir.
A couple of specifics. As far as district veteran service officers, is every district filled with a
Yes,
DEV?
The only district that is not filled is District 1, but I pretty much covered District 1. And it's 4 counties. District 5 and 7 are covered by Nick Bertucci.
I got some story for you.
Is
Some
covered
harassment.
by Hugh Harper, which is all the South. District 6 is covered by Eric Siddons. District 4, Pete Peterson. District 2, Carrie Thurman, and District 3 is Holly Skoma. And I just hired on a new appeals VSO. She started yesterday to ramp up the appeals team.
Commissioner Phillip, I share with you, we've looked, initially there were 9 district veteran service offices. In transformation, we brought that to 7. However, we have relooked some of the geographical disbursement, particularly along East Arkansas and South Arkansas. We're reevaluating 2 district offices, one in Forest City and the other in Hope, Arkansas. As part of our biennial budget review, we will be requesting additional resources to put district veterans offices in those 2 geographical areas.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And previously you had submitted slides which showed us where those are. And I would just ask you consider doing that again. It's been a couple of years, I think, since we had that. I'm going to ask another question specifically. Are we still in the program for VA contracted homes? If so, how many do we have? We used to have about 36 or 39 or something.
The last time I saw that data, it was 39. Colonel Ingram has been on a tour. She's been to the Memphis VA. She's been to the Poplar Bluff VA. She's been to the Shreveport VA. Those VA medical centers have geographical responsibility for those VA contracted nursing homes. A VA contracted nursing home is a nursing home in a geographical area that 20 of their beds are dedicated to veterans.
Okay.
We think that that's important in a collaborative effort. The capability is there, and that helps that community in reference to jobs, And also it helps that nursing home in reference to revenue. And they provide excellent care. At one time, we've had several commissioners visit some of those homes, you being one of them, and of course, Commissioner Cotton and others. And due to COVID, we backed off of that, but as we get relief from COVID, we hope to start that back up.
Yeah, this could be my last meeting since my commission expires in October. You asked me to go visit those homes before COVID. It was very rewarding. And were I to become reinstated, I would love to do it again. I would encourage any of the commissioners to go out and visit the homes. Folks from the military-related organizations do the same, because there are homes out there that have our vets and they seldom are visited by anybody. And when you come out there, staff and vets love it, and the families do too.
Commissioner Phillip, I think General Order 1 is you're to remain at your duty until properly relieved. You have not been properly relieved. So you're supposed to come to the meeting until notified otherwise. All right, team. Ms. Chandler, anything else?
No, sir, unless anything else for me.
Thank you, Ms. Chandler. Want to provide a financial update, high level. Wow. One of the things that we are proud of is we got a clear audit for 2021. I share with you, Colonel Exenberger, that was one of the first challenges the governor gave all his secretaries, that we want clean audits. And our financial section, our former CFO, Ms. Poole Lee, if you remember Mr. Austin Boot, who was our deputy, well, he hired Ms. Poole Lee to go work for Game and Fish. But we got a veteran CFO and Ms. Karen Watson. Many of you know Ms. Watson. She was with the Department of Veterans Affairs for several years, went into the private sector, and now is back with us as our Chief Financial Officer, and Carol works for and with her. So we have a great team. We've also added some capabilities and internal audits in that team, and we're very proud of that team. But this audit was important, and it's clean audit. And those of us who are in business and in governmental services, we know how important that clean audit is. So we're very proud, and that's work over 4 or 5 years. That just didn't happen. We hope to continue that. In addition, the fund balances as of 30 June, at the Bird Eye Cemetery, there was 131,000 in that cash fund balance. In North Little Rock Cemetery was 729,000 in that cash amount. At the Fayetteville, there was $499,000, and at North Little Rock, $2.2 million. The Arkansas and the governor and the legislators and the citizens of Arkansas have been very kind to the Arkansas veterans and the Arkansas Department of Veterans Affairs. You never have enough, but you have adequate resourcing, and we're thankful for that. Any questions on the Arkansas Department of Veterans Affairs financial status? Okay, with that, Colonel Ingram.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Erica Ingram. I am currently the Chief of Staff. I've been with the agency for about 9 months. And I'm going to just give you a brief update on our improvement plan for some issues that were identified and we're attempting to address with the North Little Rock Cemetery. The items highlighted in green are actually items that have already occurred. As you'll notice, for the assistant director of the cemeteries, the reporting structure is temporarily been changed to me as the deputy director, chief of staff. And the second caveat is really that effective June 6th through 15th is the timeline for that hierarchy that's actually on the wrong line. So the secretary decided to do that because the assistant director and myself have been working together very closely to try to actually dig into the effects and effects of different things that are going on and try to determine the best solution that will be the most cost effective and most advantageous to the government. The maintenance personnel, we have been having an issue with staffing, as I know you're all aware of. I will report to you today that we were 5 of 5 last week. Starting Friday, we will be 4 of 5, but there is 2 perspectives that we do have that they should be interviewing next week. As far as salaries, because there is always an issue for the most part in state government with competing with outside markets. We have determined that we have the ability to attempt to do a labor market rate increase. Research in order to actually increase our rate. We had initially briefed that it was a possibility that we could change the titles from maintenance tech to a different title. But after we further researched that, it would create other issues because we would have to change the qualification skill level. So in consultation with OPM, we determined that doing the labor market rate research would probably be the best avenue. So I'm actually in the process of doing that. So hopefully in the next 30 to 45 days, I should have some resolution on that. We have validated the headstone disposal procedures and controls. This will include a weekly follow-up. The draft is in review at my office. There are 2 things that need to be changed, but they're minor things. So they actually have been actually putting it into practice. As you'll notice, we're still working on the 100% audit of the disinterment procedures and the development of that standard. We have completed our portion, but it also involves collaboration with the health department and the funeral association. So that is actually why that date is further out in the month. We are working with the vendor to try to determine what type of technology can help us with the location of the caskets. The suspense for that is actually October 1, but Mr. Wusick met with the vendor on the 14th of July, which was last Thursday. Mr. Wusick, are you on the line? Okay, I apologize. Yeah, okay, we can now. Can you give us just a brief explanation of kind of what happened with the vendor?
Right. For situational awareness, the vendor came on site with, for layman's terms, a portable X-ray machine, if you will, ground penetrating radar, and did some initial scans over the burial area in Section K. On the initial piece of equipment, we're waiting on his final report. We found that there are some challenges being able to use this technology with headstones in place. And there are additional challenges with 20 inches of overburden and crisp separation of 1/4 to 1 inch that the technology cannot distinguish and give you an outlay picture of the location of the lid. The graph repeater that you receive is similar to an EKG, if you will, but stretch that east and west instead of north and south like you see it on the monitor. And the blips stretch over the spacing that it travels. Our initial assessment found that it could not distinguish between one lid and the other. So they're looking at their technologies and see if there are other options, and we're waiting on those.
Okay, thank you. If you'll notice, most of the suspense date for these items of correction are within the next 90 days, hence the temporary reporting of the Assistant Director of Cemeteries to myself through November 15th. I am tasked with actually validating the federal survey and where we are on that. I would hope to have an update at the our next operations update at the cemetery. That'll be on August 10th at 1400 if any commissioners are interested in joining us or either setting up a Zoom. Last I have is that we have increased the military funeral honorarium rate from $50 to $100. All service organizations have been notified in addition to the military funeral honors at Camp Robinson. So those processed for this month, anything after 1 July should receive $100 versus the previous 50. Do I have any questions?
Mr. Secretary, I have lots of
Colonel
comments.
Smedley, are you online?
Yes, I'm here.
And then were you able to hear the briefing on this? You had several questions that you and I discussed.
Yeah,
Do you have any additional?
Well, what's the time frame for the, well, first, I just want to say, everyone, I apologize for not being there, and I apologize for not having my phone on mute. I am literally in 29 Palms, California. We are conducting our big, large scale exercise here. So I think the gentleman from the Marine Corps League can feel my pain and joy being out in 29 Palms, but also seeing some Marine snipers and other Marines getting some. As far as the questions, I do have a question about the vendor. When should Bill expect an answer back? And is that the only vendor that we're looking at? Do we have another vendor? And I'll go back on mute and listen.
Yes, if I may. We're expecting a report from the vendor on their observations in the next couple of weeks. And that is the only vendor that we've reached out to that we have information that uses this technology. If someone has a vendor out there that uses this type of technology, would be more than happy to invite them to do a site visit and share what they have with us.
Colonel Smedley?
I heard. I have one more question. Have all the families been notified if their family member, has had an issue as far as the headstones or the caskets? Have all the families been notified?
Max F23 safety.
I'll be glad to answer
Bill,
that.
are you there?
Yes, I am. Yes, to my knowledge, they have been.
Okay. All right. And, I know that we all know about the, I'll just say this, is the governor up to date on the progress at the cemetery? And then that's my last question.
Colonel Smedley, I'll answer that. I report directly to the governor. The governor has had adequate information on all operations in the Arkansas Department of Veterans Affairs.
Thank you.
Is that all, Colonel Smedley?
Yes, sir.
Thank you I know you're enjoying the heat out in California. I think Colonel Phillips has a little update. He went to the walkthrough. I missed it. I was on my way back from fishing in Alaska, so I missed the walkthrough. It was 57 degrees up in Alaska.
Beautiful. I'll try to keep it cool here too. I became involved with the cemetery because I'm 83 years old and I'm about ready to go. But very seriously, I was called in April with some complaints, and many of you know that because I spoke to that at the April meeting, as did Bishop Greg Brown. I was very, very positively impressed in the past few weeks by going back to North Little Rock Cemetery to see the enthusiasm and activity in each one of the sections. I mentioned that also to the secretary at some point, that I think we've turned this in the right direction and turned it very quickly. When I saw your briefing here, and I was part of a meeting with Chaplain or Commissioner Clemmer, I stopped on point number 1. That's the working group. I think that is a great place for you to begin, because from that point on, all the rest of this will begin to fall into place. Here are my comments about that. I've been in both cemeteries often, and they have a very similar mindset in both those cemeteries. One is they're totally dedicated to the work that they do. and they feel it passionately. And with the resources they have, I also think they're dedicated to it and they do the best they can. Both of those cemeteries have a we and them mindset and attitude. If just left as the former structure was concerned, I think the whole thing would sink. Bird Eye, though, is one that has been in high rankings national. North Little Rock, not so. But they would end up in the same place if they continue to feel the same way, that it's we and them. What they need to know is ADVA is not the adversary. And I was excited when you were assigned to be in this structure to kind of oversee both of these, and by the working group also. But I expressed a concern to the secretary that if a single working group is too large. Imagine this room of us around here trying to conduct a working group with too many players. So I'm going to ask you to go back and think about that. Use the National Cemetery Association guidelines. They tell you what's critical, what's a high priority, what's kind of a medium priority. Pick your best, your toughest tasks, set those out. And I think you'll see that at North Little Rock, we really need 2 working groups at a minimum. And consider the size of those groups to be optimally 6 or 8 people, 6 or 8 stakeholders. And then you coordinate that. I would say, Mr. Chairman, if you could consider asking commissioners to volunteer, at least one commissioner to be on one of the working groups, one on another, same way at Bird Eye, and you might consider working groups for the 2 nursing homes with a commissioner kind of involved there, not as voting members of those working groups, but as ex officio. I don't believe we should ever vote directly on an operation that belongs to ADVA, but we are the advisors. And so I think it'd be well that we serve our veterans by being on those working groups. We need team building. And I think since we have a common motive, that's where we go with the staff. And don't forget the contractors. They know exactly what's going on. Again, I'll go back and say, I'm very, very hopeful. And I just ask for the commission to be able to take a part in that. You say improvement, I think you've already improved. And I want to see it come to perfection. Thank you, sir.
I do want to say that maybe that's something that the secretary and I can discuss on what kind of a committee, or with Colonel Ingram, what kind of committee you want to, maybe a little work advisory group if you want that. I'm sure we'll have plenty of people volunteer to be a part of it from the commissioning group.
And Chairman, we've thought through that. The model that we use for the veteran home, where we had a charter, we had mission and objectives. That's a model that we are looking at.
Okay.
And reconstituting the cemetery working group. And Commissioner Phillip, I heard your thoughts and look forward to further counsel and advice on those 2 working groups, the 2 missions that they would have. So to give some feedback, we're looking at the model that we used for the home working group, and we'll constitute that. We do need, we think, some legislators as part of those working groups. There may be some resource requirements. Also, other stakeholders, veteran, family members, the Funeral Home Association. But we do understand that it can't get up out of hand where we have 20 members. So we accept your advice on the 6 to 8 and 2 working group. We want to get through sustainable improvements. And Colonel Ingram has the 15th November to do that. And then we will reconstitute those working groups with your advice, Chairman.
Mr. Secretary, I think if you approach it from the view of a field operations working group and then a funding or people operations, something on the other side of it, but field operations it needs to be jumped on really soon.
Yes, sir.
I have to say, my observation, I've been out there a couple of times and driven through the cemetery. And from my first time when we had a little bit of discourse in the meeting, they made great changes out there. It looks so much better. Tombstones are lined up, and I talked with 2 or 3 of the people working out there, and they did seem very motivated.
Yes.
And they're veterans as well.
Yes.
And, veterans have this thing in their heart about other veterans and taking care of our deceased veterans. And that's a good sign that they have such good attitude. And I thank you for that. You've done a good job in making some changes.
And Chairman,
You inherited some things too.
And I have to yield to Bill Warsick and Colonel Ingram. We put focus on this, and that staff has turned over in North Little Rock. We have, I know in the last 9 months, we have at least 7 new employees out there. And they are bringing a lot of pride and a lot of knowledge, skill, and ability. I'm quite sure, Judge, your county workforce in reference to roads and other things, once you get good people that take pride in their work, things start improving. And it's always a continuous improvement. And something, before we get back to Little Rock, something may come up. But we're continuously working to improve that operation. I want to thank Colonel Ingram, Bill Warsick, and that team, and the commissioners. You got eyes on us, but you're also working with us. So we thank you. Anything else?
Any other questions? If I got the next slide too, Ms. Carroll. Just a quick update on the North Little Rock Veterans Home. They're currently at 88 residents, which is about 93%. The past 9 months I've been here, they've averaged in the 90s. They usually have 1 or 2 people sitting on a waiting list. So I expect that they should have those beds filled very soon. Their current FTE is 79. We're still struggling. CNAs, RNs, LPNs. We're relying a lot on contract nursing, as is in most state and government agencies, because we can't actually compete very well currently. Even with, we're attempting to do another LMR to hopefully get a little bit closer, but we are having a serious issue competing with outside agencies as far as staffing agencies and bonuses that they can pay and those type of things. But we do have that core dedicated staff that's there, and they are the ones that are really the glue that holds it together. Just to follow up on their survey. In January, you were briefed on these 3 items. At that time, they were still open for follow-up. I'm happy to report that all have been cleared. The VA survey, the first item was just actually cleared last week. But David, the current administrator, left the agency in March. And the assistant administrator, Reed Strickland, has been the acting. Hopefully sometime next week, we will have selected the next administrator. Currently, right now, the packet is on its way to OPM because we have to request EWQ for the salary that we need to offer him. So subject to any questions, that is all I have.
Did they make the offer?
We have to get it approved from OPM.
Huh?
We have to get it approved from OPM. So that's what I'm waiting on, the documentation in order for us to send it over.
Yeah, well, I will say your deputy out there He's very energetic. He's working. We interviewed him as part of the potential directors. And he's got a lot of energy. I was impressed with him. He's got some more things to learn, but he's doing a great job. And I liked him. I thought he did a great job in the interview. Any questions on the?
I've got a question, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
If my math is correct on the Veterans Home full-time equivalent staffing, it looks like you have about 51% of your full-time equivalents being staffed. My question is twofold. Number one, has there been any creative techniques related to hiring, job application, anything to try to draw prospective applicants to come to work for the VA? And the second part of that question is, has there been any staffing challenges that the commission should be aware of, or any problems that it's created that the commission should be aware of?
The challenges all relate to the actual medical personnel, the nurses, the CNAs. And we do have contracting, and we have 5 different contracting agencies, I think, at North Little Rock that we use. And we have been fortunate with those. But my comment concerning the core staff holding it together, especially the DON, the MDS coordinator, and those RN nurse supervisors, it requires a lot on them, because your agency nurses aren't necessarily as vested, and you get good and you get bad ones. But as you'll see what's reflected in their VA surveys in the Office of Long-Term Care, we have been able to meet all the standards for personal care, but it is very taxing on our current staff. I will say that. As far as creativity and hiring, we're out on every job platform we can be on, connecting. Most of our hires have come from referrals from people that work here. We are trying to actually push the fact of a retirement. That's really the only, excuse me, that's really the only thing we have right now to offer is that we do have the state has a good retirement. We are looking at applying for a retention grant from the VA sometime in the beginning of the fiscal year. But that still may be a challenge with state law and currently what we can do.
Colonel Ingram, one other question. Because of your staffing, do you feel like the residents are getting adequate care with the number of staff that you have? You know, the nursing staff, the LPNs, is your opinion that the minimum standards are being taken care of, minimum needs are being taken care of the veterans?
Yes, sir. I would say it is. I have not received any complaints. And like I said, it's just very taxing on those that are there, that core staff, but they really care, and they're really there for the right reason.
There's a lot of overtime.
Yes, sir.
It looks like it. Looks like it. The staff is really working hard. Okay, that's all I have. Anyone else have any questions?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Wouldn't be right, sir.
Hey, man, I keep looking through. Am I missing something here? What about the Veterans Home in Fayetteville? And what's going on with that?
Mr. McCall.
And how is it going? And
Mr. McCall.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can say that we, very similar to what's going on in North Little Rock, we have a 46 out of 101 positions filled. So we are also relying heavily on contract staff, while our core team is keeping things together and working very hard. So we are looking forward to the labor market survey to see if we can adjust our compensation packages to be more competitive. But all in all, the care is superb. I get thanks and letters from families weekly, appreciating what we're doing for their loved ones. So we're keeping it together, but it's a strain.
And Commissioner Clammer, I share with you, in the last 90 days, we've had 20 admissions. So families are making an assessment, and they are asking for admission at the Fayetteville home. For most of 2022, state fiscal 22, that census was at 60 or below. Mr. McCall, are we at 65 today?
No, sir. Actually, our midnight census last night was 67.
So we've had an increase in census, and we track a metric that in reference to inquiries and referrals. And Ms. McCall, how many referrals do we have on hand now?
That is approximately inquiries and applications total. We're looking at about 10, of which 4 of those are applications.
At 67, that shows tremendous improvement, and those are veterans and their families making the decision to seek admission at the North Little Rock, at the Fayetteville home. And what is exciting for me, and I hope for the commissioners, is we got out in front of replacing that home. If we go back to 2012, 2013, we had to close a home and then stand one up in North Little Rock. But this commission got out in front of that. And we hope, Judge Marin, in 5 years, we'll be back up here walking through that home.
Yeah.
Questions?
Who is some? Okay.
We've asked our great counsel, and of course, many of us know Colonel House, a JAG officer for many years, and was part of the team that got the land for the North Little Rock Cemetery, which we were very happy with. And we've had additional land now that about 241 acres. And we've applied for 2 federal grants, one for Bird Eye and one for North Little Rock for further expansion. On Wednesday of last week, I visited with in Washington, D.C., the VA grant person. We're pretty confident that we're going to compete well. And Bill Warsick has done the heavy lifting on this, that we think that we'll get the one in Bird Eye, and we're on the bubble for the one for additional expansion. It'll be the 3rd expansion in the last 5 years at North Little Rock, which will help us with continuous improvement. With that, I'd like Colonel House to periodically, we want to give the commission an overview of the responsibilities of the commission. Colonel House.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In your packet, I gave you a printout from, it's called Westlaw. It's one of the research tools we use at the Attorney General's office. And I've highlighted some information that has to do with this commission's duties and responsibilities, powers, and authority. Now, I use those words, powers and authority, with preciseness. You have power because you're able to accomplish something. You have authority because some law says that you do. My wife has power over me, but not necessarily authority. And my boss has both authority and power over me because she controls my paycheck, and the law says that she is my boss. You have very, very much power because you're the only agency I have found so far, there may be another one, that has the authority to lobby the General Assembly of the state of Arkansas. And you'll find that authority in there. Now, not every agency can do that. Not every commission can do that sort of thing. They do hire people who act as liaison, but you as a body can do that sort of thing. So when you start talking about money problems, when you start talking about personnel problems, when you start talking about construction problems and things like that, if you are cohesive and start talking to your members of the General Assembly, the House and the Senate, you are very, very effective. What my 8 years down in the House, I found the commission to be very effective when it came to, for instance, funding the Veterans Home in North Little Rock, those kinds of things. So keep in mind, and as you look through those things, you will see that you have some privileges as a commission that most other state agencies do not. On the other hand, you do have a couple of, I would call them advantages. You don't have the authority or the requirement to enact rules. In Arkansas, we have rules. The federal government has regulations. They mean the same thing, but under statute, we call ours rules to keep them from being confused with federal regulations. You don't have any responsibility to enact rules. You don't have any responsibility to listen to employee grievances and appeals and that sort of thing, and make a decision as to whether somebody should be disciplined, fired, given a raise, anything like that. That sole authority lies in the director, who is responsible to the governor. And that's a good thing. Think of what would happen, for instance, if you had actual responsibility for making those kinds of decisions. And now, instead of having a working group on a veterans home in Bentonville, Arkansas, or having a working group for reform of the cemetery, you had to give notice under the Freedom of Information Act, invite all of the public in to participate in your working group, to ask questions, to raise objections, to get mad, to get happy, whatever the case may be. And so that is a distinct advantage because you are a work in progress, and the legislature, the General Assembly, recognize that since, as far as I know, all of you are veterans, as I am we have the veterans' best interest at heart. And that's been something that's been going on for, gosh, as long as I've known about the Arkansas Department of Veterans Affairs. It's quite an interesting conundrum. As you see, you are in advisory capacity to the director, and the director has to make the decisions and it's the one that can go to jail, pay fines, all that other kind of stuff if y'all advise him wrong, but I don't think you will. He still remains legally responsible, has the authority. But you also have a tremendous amount of power because of the influence you have with the rest of the government and that sort of thing. As I noticed through the statute, there's something in there I don't like and I think ought to be changed, and that's your per diem rates. The amount of travel money that you get is fairly small, and you are expected to visit VFWs and DAVs and American Legions and maybe go to 1 or 2 national conventions a year. With that kind of money, it's not available. Legislature needs to be made aware of that limitation, because you've got to get out and visit with people and make those kinds of decisions. And that's something within your influence, if not, well, influence would be the right word. And that's something you can bring up. I invite you to look through it. I've highlighted the yellow parts I think are the most important parts to you. I've highlighted a couple other things in green and blue that kind of show you where the authority or the division lines maybe occur. And so you, as we used to say, stay in your lane, know when everybody else needs to stay in their lane. And so it's something to look through when you have some time. Y'all are doing a great job. I go back to my teenage years. I used to bird hunt on the property that is now the North Little Rock Cemetery when I was in 10th, 11th grade of high school. Dad was in the Guard and for 24 years. So, and all of my uncles and 3/4 of my grandfathers are all veterans as well. A little background on me, I did 38 years in the Guard and in active service. 24 of them I retired in active, started off as a private, managed to retire as a colonel, give or take 10 years enlisted, 10 years as an infantry officer, and 18 years as a judge advocate. I am always available to you. I will give each of you my card. You may call me at home in the middle of the night because that's when problems keep you awake, and I don't want that to happen. And I'm glad to talk to you at 6, 7, 8 o'clock. I used to say 2 or 3 in the morning until I started getting those calls at 2 or 3 in the morning. But if it's important to you, it's important to me. Okay. Thank you for letting me serve you. I did ask to have this among one of my 14 agencies that I represent with the Attorney General. She sends her regards. She loves you. She's proud of you. And she asked me to let you know that she's there for you if you need her. Thank you, Mr. Director. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there anything else I can do for y'all?
Well, it was a pleasure serving with you for probably over 20 years in the Guard. And I know you've done a great job, and thank you for your presentation. You're a good soldier and a good man. I just want people to know that, Colonel.
Thank you very much. I apologize to y'all for turning my back on you. It's not a pleasant thing to do, knowing any one of you could run up.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our update.
We move, for sake of time, we move to old business. Does anyone have any additional old business that you would like to discuss or present? Anyone on the committee? I think we've pretty well had some of our concerns about the cemetery answered. I think they're moving forward and getting things more in line with what we hope to see at that cemetery. I know Colonel Ingram will be on top of it, the Secretary. So no old business. We moved to new business. Who could speak to the Fayetteville home on that rating they got?
Mr. McCall.
Yes, sir.
My question is, there was a recent finding by, I don't know if it was Joint Commission or what, that concerns committee.
It's the Center for Medicaid and Medicare.
Oh, okay.
But the surveyor is the Office of Long-Term Care. There's 4 components to that survey. One of them is quality of care. Mr. McCall, I recall that we're at 3. One of the other factors is staffing, and then there's a reporting requirement. And some of our challenges is we did not submit all the data in December, and that impacts that rating. As I recall, as early as recent as 2019, we were a 4-star rating at Fayetteville, but the reporting and the staffing, and then you're required to report what they call an elopement, i.e. On our 6th floor, that's a dementia unit. If that veteran pushes that door and goes on the other side of it for seconds, we are to report that. And we did report it. And then you have to have a corrective action, and that reflects in that rating. Mr. McCall, can you add any additional information, and what are our projections over the next 6 months to 12 months to improve that rating? And by the way, as I recall, our PBJ report went in on time in April or March. Is that a correct statement? And then is the next one going in on time? So Ms. McCall, can you provide some additional information in reference to the star rating from the Office of Long-Term Care, or CMS? Go ahead, Mr. McCall.
Yes, sir. No, the star rating stems from that incomplete PBJ or staffing reporting that we report to CMS, to Medicare, Medicaid. And that it's one of those things that our new personnel team were learning how to do it, had some issues we stumbled through, didn't quite get it right. We righted the ship in January, and in January, February, March, all reporting was completed. And we are now, of course, hiring a new HR team now. But in the meantime, we've learned from our mistakes in the last transition. and working very closely with North Little Rock's HR team in keeping our PBJ, our staffing reporting up. And I'm happy to say that we have already reported all the staffing requirements for this last quarter, which is April, May, and June. Those are due the middle of August. They were already reported up in the middle of July, and they are accurate and they are complete. So we expect when the next update for staffing occurs in August, that 1 star will go back up to a 3 or 4 star. And then when it comes to the elopement, the issues there, we did everything right, but document the steps that we took to ensure the resident safety. And since the steps that we took were not documented, we were heavy. The entire staff during that time that it happened were contract, and it did not get documented as it needed to be to meet the state needs. So that gave us immediate jeopardy. Not sure how that's going to impact the star ratings because it's buried beneath the staffing issue. So we will see, but I don't expect that to negatively impact our staff rating or our overall rating. So I don't expect that to keep us from being back to a 3 or 4 star after the next update. Any questions? Does that make sense?
Now, did I understand that there were various areas that they rated? Now, I heard about the 1 star. Was that in administrative or was that in quality of care?
That's the total score. The quality of care, as I recall, was a 3.
Out of 4?
Out of
5.
Yes.
And part of that is also the turnover that we're having. To give you an idea, there's not a single registered nurse that's working here today that worked here in 2021. So it's that's how heavy our turnover has been. And part of the nursing updates that they do are, we call it's the minimum data set, MDS, and that is also, we're finding some things that we can update in that. So we expect our quality of care rating to go up to a 4, if not higher.
Will that have any impact on funding?
No.
No. Not at all.
Right now, the state has the governor and Mr. Call.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Call, the question is reference to our funding to replace the Fayetteville home.
No, sir, I don't see any correlation or any impact there.
And that's a good question. The information we have now is that no, it won't affect it. We still have to compete at the federal level for the 2/3 of the cost to replace that home. The last report we had, we're at 41. They had funding in the next fiscal year for up to a number 33. However, we should go higher in the order of merit once we get our letter up to the federal VA sharing that we have matching funds. We're in group 1A. We have the pre-application there, but we don't have the letter with the matching fund. Today, Miss Karen Watkins, our CFO, is at legislative review to get that authority of the $15 million.
Okay.
We will get that up to the federal VA by 1 August. Colonel Ingram and Ms. Watkins will be at the National Association for State Directors of Veterans Homes in August. We will engage the program manager to ensure that we understand all the criteria and where we are. When we've talked to the program manager several times. The last time we talked to her, usually once you get into that category 1, it takes 24 to 36 months. the Secretary of the VA toured that facility on about, this is Mr. McDonald and Senator Bozeman and Congressman Womack toured that facility on the 22nd of November. The Secretary of the VA, at the invitation of Senator Bozeman and Congressman Womack. We feel that we will compete well. Will it be 12 months or it be 24 months? However, we have a timeline that even if it goes out to 24 months, we've been tracking building homes in other states, and it's about a 24-month process. We are still encouraged that we could have a new home in Northwest Arkansas in 2026. There's a lot of variables in that projection, but we are following them very closely.
Well, thank you, Mr. Secretary. Anyone else have any questions? So, but one more question, Buster. When are you going to get it up to 5 stars?
As soon as we can, sir. No, that I believe that with more experience and stability in our senior nursing leadership that we're developing here, that's going to help out a lot. And if we can get that quality of care up to 5, then we can. Our staffing, I believe, is going to be 4 or 5 when the numbers hit, and that'll leave our surveys, and I think that will follow our quality of care. And I mean, right now we have, our last inspection had 6 findings, and the average is 8 in the state and nationwide. So we're actually better than average there. But this IJ will drag us down just a little bit for a while. So I expect that'll be
Well, I'm
3.
sure you've taken this as a challenge and you're going to charge ahead.
Oh, we are, yes, sir. Yeah, starting with the people. The people are the foundation of everything. And as we get the people in, we'll be able to start implementing the fixes.
Buster, this is Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
The problem with staffing, or just in general, that problem, with the turnover, you said there was like a whole new group. What seems to be like, what is the main reasoning? Like there's got to be, if everybody's rolled over in a year, right? Is that what he said?
Yes. When it comes to the registered nurses, a lot of them were approaching retirement, and some were actually thinking about retiring in about 20. Some stuck with us into this year, but they finally went ahead and pulled chocks, and they were very dedicated, and they knew that we needed them during COVID, but there just came a time when they were ready to start their retirement. That's the main issues there.
Commissioner Moore, throughout the industry, it is LPNs, licensed practical nurses. If those of us that are familiar with the healthcare industry, about 15 years ago, hospitals determined that they were going to replace LPNs with RNs, and they did. That did drive up the cost. However, schools stopped producing LPNs. LPNs is a critical skill set that augments healthcare delivery. They're all able to provide meds and those things. At both our facilities, I suggest that we're less than 30% filled on our LPNs. However, at Fayetteville, we're at 80 to 90% on RNs. And why is this important? Under the federal guidelines, veteran homes are required to have an RN on staff. That's not required in civilian homes. So we have a higher level of capability in reference to RNs. So we think that relates to the level of care that our veterans receive. However, when we talk to the veterans, when we talk to the family members, it is the CNN that determines if the quality of life for that veteran. There are some innovative things happening in the state of Arkansas. They've determined that a skill set called a medical technologist can substitute for an LPN. There is a school in Northwest Arkansas that will produce medical technologists. We're looking to send 2 or 3 of our CNAs that have the performance to that school. We've also been working with Fayetteville High School. They have a CNA producing course. They are waiting to take their tests, but we are in contact with that instructor and we will be in contact with those students. So we are actively pursuing staffing, particularly CNAs and RNs. We will continue, and I think the whole industry over the next 24 to 36 months will continue to have challenges with LPNs.
Okay, thanks. I just want to know the turnover itself. My next question, going back to like old business, I guess would be, did they ever get the plumbing situation squared away?
We have been in, yes.
Okay.
And we now are in contract negotiations with UAMS to convert 3 shower rooms and upgrade them to improve what we call an isolation unit, so that if a resident gets COVID, we can put them in isolation. And we're also improving the break area for the staff. And as I recall, Mr. McCall, there's 40 rooms that we're going to paint. In the last 24 months, we've replaced furniture, beds, high bars, and dresser stands. And that resource, the governor provided $750,000 for renovation purposes. Up until about 3 months ago, we had spent about $250,000, but we were delayed due to COVID and not wanting to put contractors in that home that may expose the residents to COVID. But we've had some relief in COVID, and we have been negotiating. And when we talked about this, Mr. McCall, 2 weeks ago, we hope to get those other renovations started by 1 September. Ms. McCall, did I miss anything on the renovations?
No, sir. The rooms, the painting of the rooms, and we're also going to remodel 2 rooms that are in need of upgrades. So that's going to be huge as well. Yes.
You're breaking up, Mr. McCall. But
there were 2.
let's-
Yes, sir. There were 2 rooms that we're going to remodel as well. 2 resident rooms.
let's get that list of renovations to the commissioners. So Commissioner Moore, you'll have those, the entire commission will have those.
I think that. Thanks.
And we encourage our commissioners, you can visit that facility and you can visit it today if you care to. And we encourage the commissioners to visit.
Okay.
I know Commissioner Walker and Commissioner Moore have taken the opportunity.
Yes, Secretary, I have a question. Do either one of our veterans' homes have any kind of an agreement, or would they consider an agreement with any of the nursing schools or where they train CNAs to come in and do any part of their clinicals at the facility? That might help relieve the burden somewhat, even if it's a simple thing like their bathing skills or something like that, bed making skills.
Mr. McCall, did we not have the Fayetteville High School that not bring in some of their CNAs?
We can bring in CNAs after they've trained, but because of that immediate jeopardy, we have to wait 2 years before we can do any CNA training inside the facility. Now, what we're hoping to be able to do
Well,
is
we
re-energize.
can't do CNA training right now because we have that immediate jeopardy to the local.
Right, yes, sir. So what we're hoping though is to restart the RN training partnership that we have with the University of Arkansas this fall and look at other opportunities there. But as far as CNAs, we cannot train CNAs in the facility for.
No, I didn't meant that.
Mr. McCall, Commissioner Erdman has another comment.
I didn't mean that we provide the CNA training. I meant that the school would do their clinical at the vet's home, where they provide their own instructor, comes with them, and they are the ones that do the training. It would just help relieve some of the work for the work staff.
We'll definitely
Yes, and
look at
that's,
that, Commissioner Urban.
Actually, not a bad deal.
And you could even maybe recruit from them.
And Mr. McCall,
That's a good
you
idea.
know we got to look that in the next 90 days because Commissioner Urban will ask it again in October. So we'll
Yes,
get
sir.
you an answer.
but I have the answer, sir, if you want it.
Okay, give the answer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, that,
Go
that
ahead,
is
Mr. McCall.
exactly, yes, sir. Yes, sorry, ma'am, I might not have been clear, but that's exactly what the OLTC guidelines say. We cannot even have a schoolhouse come in with their own instructors for 2 years after the immediate jeopardy. So it's not just us training, it's anyone. CNAs cannot train in the facility for 2 years.
So what I hear, Mr. McCall, what I hear you say is what about RNs and LPNs?
Now, RNs and LPNs, there's nothing that stops that. That's why we are trying to get RNs and LPNs in. But CNAs, we cannot do.
So Commissioner Urban, what I heard is we're prohibited from CNAs training, even if they bring, and we're going to verify this, their own instructor. However, we can establish those relationships with LPNs and RNs, and we'll further research this. Thank you, Mr. McCall.
Is that a federal guideline or a state guideline?
It seems to be Office of Long-Term Care, which is oversight is CMS, the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services.
Didn't change that rule. That'd be a good thing, actually. Let's change the laws.
Thank you.
Make a call.
Okay, all right. I guess now we come to new business. Start with Lynn Cotton. Do you have anything you'd like to add as new business or anything going on you'd like to add to this meeting?
I do. I was gonna mention it during the good of the order. I hope you don't mind me taking a couple of minutes of your time to brag on a couple of members of the ADVA staff, Miss Gina Chandler and Colonel Todd. I'd like to say something about both of you. Back on November the 11th on Veterans Day, I think I told you I had the opportunity to speak at the Dardanelle High School Junior ROTC program, and along with myself, there was and for y'all, it was a major general, 2-star general, Gary Johnson. We both gave a talk there, and he was a friend of my son's, and he passed away. In fact, he passed like a couple months later. He was in his early 50s, just retired from the military. And anyway, he passed away. And I think I got a hold, Colonel Eggleston, I think I got a hold of you and mentioned it to you, and I mentioned it to Colonel Todd, mentioned it to the governor and whatever. And they had his service. They had a service up in Russellville, and they had 2 services in Washington, D.C. They buried him in Arlington Cemetery. And I'd like to say my son attended that service because they were friends as well. Colonel Todd couldn't be at the service because you had a meeting, I believe, with Senator Bozeman. So you sent Gina Chandler, and that's what I want to tell you. My wife and I participated in that service at Russellville, so we got to meet a lot of the people from the Pentagon and whatever before the service, and Miss Chandler came there. And so I wanted her to go around and introduce her to everyone that was there. I think there was 1-star, 2-star, and there was even a 3-star general, lieutenant general from the Pentagon. I cannot say enough good about Mrs. Chandler, of her professional and personal abilities there, both with a capital P. As I would take her around, and they were so impressed that someone from the Veterans Affairs could be there, but she represented it so well. I just cannot say enough good about what Mrs. Chandler did. I mean, first class. And I want to just say that while I was here, Colonel Todd, what a good job she did. She was excellent. And you could tell by the people, the way that she would talk to, how they would listen to her, their body language, how impressed they were with her. And for you sending her there, and I thank you for that very much.
Thank you, Scott.
Second thing, I know you know this, but I want to say it anyway about Colonel Todd. I hope you don't mind me saying this. I'm not sure if this has anything to do with the Veterans Affairs, but Governor Hutchison appointed, I know most people know this, appointed Colonel Todd to a 10-year, I'm not saying a 10-year commission. I mean, a stint on he's on the University of Arkansas Board of Trustees. And that's a really a high honor. And for someone, and I'm very pleased that happened. And it was in the papers, but some of you may not know that. I think the commission does. But I just want to say congratulations on being selected, Colonel Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. And I'm thankful to God and the governor.
And Nate, we expect free football tickets. Is that right?
I was going to say that, but I'm afraid I might get out.
November 12th, Commissioners. The military appreciation,
Already been beating him
Arkansas
up.
versus LSU.
Colonel Thomas, you have anything?
Well, Colonel Barry, Judge Barry left, but we appreciate, obviously, a lot of people here don't understand that we're talking about October of last year, and we talked about moving here, but for some of us, this has been about a 3-year project. We've been working on this. A group had moved forward before we even did the final program, the house in North Little Rock. So we're just pleased to be here in Bentonville. The other thing, we've got an unwritten rule among the commissioners about the dress attire, kind of a business casual. So I apologize for wearing blue jeans and this shirt. I'm not like Dr. Bob over here, not being able to wear his Armani suit, or some of them wearing the other suits, but we were out at the intersection there of Stony Brook and Rainbow Road out there looking at the new place out there, and it was dusty and dirty. And so that's the reason why you see a lot of us wearing what we are. So I apologize for that. But again, I just appreciate the city and county of Bentonville for supporting us. Congratulations again, Nate, on appointment.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Well, for your business, that's business casual. You're a farmer. Yeah, farming.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
there you go. Paul?
And if I could, Chairman, Colonel House talk about the power of this commission. I share with you that I know for a fact that many of you weighed in on that appointment. And Commissioner Thomas, thank you.
Nothing to add. Pleasure to serve. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Phillips, Colonel Phillips.
You struck my heart with a knife today. 63 years ago to the day, I was on guard duty at Fort Benning, Georgia. 3 a.m., well off my post chasing rabbits. I heard coming up the road behind me sounds of the officer of the guard's vehicle. I slapped that M1 on my shoulder and marched resolutely down the wrong road. Pulled up behind me. He got out, he's about your size. Looming over the top of me, Phillips, where do you think you are? I'm on my post, sir. Get in the back of my Jeep. The next month, I washed so darn many pots and pans. My hands were so wrinkled, but I'll never forget that. And when you said it this morning, it's amazing. I hadn't thought about that in years. I felt that knife come right through my heart. I'm assuming though that this is my last posting. And so I also want to thank the governor for a surprise appointment to this commission. I didn't apply for this commission. When I got on it, I was kind of lost. And I want to thank Lynn Cotton for taking me under his wing in Dardanelle one day, and then invited me over to the house, and Miss Cotton served me some tea, and we just sat around and talked, and I began to feel a little better. And then some weeks later at a ceremony, and it was at Bird Eye, you got hold of me there and you said, why don't you take a look at the contract nursing homes? And I had a task. That's what I needed. And I jumped into a rewarding task. And everything I've done since, I've discovered that the more you do, the more fun it gets. And it's not a job. It's exciting. Gina Chandler opened the door for me to come to the VSO training. And that was some years ago, because this is 5 years now, so it's probably in my first year. You keyed in on her when you said professional. I like that. And that everywhere I've gone within the bounds of the work that we do, find professionals everywhere and every day. I am more encouraged by that every minute. I thank Carol in her own way for being professional. Yes, I know you're really busy, and I know you've had to apologize to us lately, but no apology needed. Just thank you very much for that, and all the people like yourself that are sitting in the office back there making things happen. That's all I got to say. I will stay on my post until release.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Colonel Erdman. Colonel Erdman, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Excuse me. I just want to mention that American Legion has a new department commander, William Bill Doc Sheets is his name. He's from Cabot. And the only other thing I want to say is that it's kind of a tag along on what Commissioner Ingram had brought up about the working groups. And I'm excited about that. And I hope that we do have working groups. And one of them in particular that is dear to my heart is the ones that visit the vets home. Because there's always somebody out there waiting to get a chance to either say something negative about the VA or about the vets homes, whether it's to make a name for themselves or, that we got to take care of our veterans, and so I think that's a real positive way to keep that kind of thing from happening is by those pop-in visits, and just like going to the contract homes, not only to see that we visit those homes to see that there isn't anything, that they are taking care of our veterans, but to actually visit the veterans. So I was real glad that you brought that up, and I'm looking forward to, for the time that I have left, to see this happen. I thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. Colonel Mason, I'm going to ask you to step up to the podium. I think you've got a little bit more to talk about.
That's okay.
Okay, you can stay there. All right.
I just want to mention the challenge coins that you have in front of you. Per the guidance at the last commission meeting, was directed to order 100, and they've been received. So that equates to about 6 coins per commissioner. Those commissioners that are listening in or zoomed in, I'll have your coins for you at the next commission meeting. So those are your coins to use to recognize outstanding service as you see it for people that are providing those services to veterans. That leads me to the comment that there are by far more than 100 people in Arkansas that are rendering outstanding services to the veterans. So when those 100 coins are depleted, it will be very easy to replace them with a reorder.
So use them as with your discretion. And when you recognize outstanding service, please present one to that person or organization that is providing that service to veterans. Thank you.
And also as a side note, there was a cost for these coins for anyone that's wanting to donate.
Yeah, it's a
to Bob.
voluntary
It's out of his
donation.
pocket.
If you want to donate, I'll be happy to accept. If you don't donate, there will be no hard or ill feelings, because I think this is an outstanding way to recognize people that are supporting our veterans.
And it was like $40 for 6 coins.
Yeah, each coin's about $6.50. So I think that comes out to $38, $39, or maybe $39.50, whatever.
I'm just glad you made the effort to get those coins. I'm very
Glad to do it.
happy to have them. I've got a friend here that used to be a commissioner. I'm going to give my first coin to.
Yeah. It's kind of one of those things that Commissioner Phillips just mentioned, that you wait for that first tasking to come your way. And when it does, you just go in feet first and give it your best shot. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clemmer, you have any new business?
I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Mr. Moore?
Nothing.
Nothing to add? The only thing I have to add is be thinking about, we've got elections coming up. Oh, I'm sorry, the commissioner's on the Zoom. Ms. Overton, are you there?
I apologize. Could I jump in real quick? Because my signal is going in and out. This is Commissioner Smedley. Hello?
Do you have anything you'd like to add, comments?
Yes, can you hear me? Can
Yes, we
you
can
all
hear you.
Okay. All right. I think there's a delay. Hey, I just want to say real quick again, I apologize for not being there. But again, you probably don't want me there because it's not even 12 here and I already need a shower. But I just want to say, we lost a giant in the veteran community, R.D. Kinsey, recently. And I just want everyone to keep his family in your prayers. He did a lot around the state. And if you ever had a chance to work with him, if you ever had a chance to interact with him, his passion and his heart for veterans. And I hope we keep that in mind as we move forward, and we move forward with that same spirit as we work together as one team with the commission, with the ADVA, and with the veteran community of Arkansas. And I think we can continue to move forward to do what's in the best interest for our veterans and their families. But that's all I have. I hope to see everyone soon.
This is Commissioner Overton. I just appreciate all the care and the concern of the ADV and everything that's being done to address the issues. I particularly enjoyed the briefing about the improvement plan. So I just appreciate everybody's passion and concern. And I like that we are moving things forward. That's all I have. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Overton. We have James, did you ever get on the meeting? James Gillum?
I haven't seen him.
I guess, how about Pamela Boyd Shields? Okay, I guess that we're getting ready to wrap up, but I just wanted to, as a reminder, we have elections coming up in October for the new chair. I've spent my 2 years as chair, and I think it's time for some new people to come in. And any of you wishing or thinking about that or even interested in the vice chair, if you want to contact, if you want to make a contact to Colonel Smedley, and let us know your interest, that would be appreciated because I was just told a while ago by the secretary that he called me chairman. I said, you can call me Ron. He said, no, I'll call you chairman until January, but after that, you watch out. So
I did not say that.
So anyway, I thank our guests for coming. It was a long meeting and I like your kiosk down there. I noticed the kiosk down there. I always look for those things when I come into courthouses. If you haven't seen it, look for the kiosk down in the main lobby. Those things are great for veterans to find out information. I think that's one of the greatest things that's happened is getting information out along with Gina Chandler and what she's accomplished from the time I first, and I know Tom was here before me, from my first meeting, what has expanded into information to our veterans in this state has been amazing. It's been a wonderful thing that has occurred. And I'm impressed that Gina's hard work and what she was able to accomplish and her staff, not just her. I'm sure it's her staff as well. So with that, I'd like,
can
Colonel
I
Mason,
interrupt for
would
just
you
a
be
minute
kind enough
because I
to-
couldn't get off of, this is
Hold on. Go ahead.
Commissioner Pamela Boyd Shields. I couldn't get off the mute button, and I just now did, but I just wanted to.
You're here
thank
now.
you.
We'd love
Thank
to hear
you.
from you.
I'd like to thank Carol especially for how hard she worked on this meeting. A lot of times with the staffs of the ADVA and of the homes and of the other organizations that we're all involved in, we never thank those people. We thank each other, we thank the officers, but we never really thank them. So I thank Carol. The other thing is, every veterans group in the state and every woman's group for that matter does things at Christmas, does things at Easter, does things at Valentine's Day. If anyone has an idea of a home or an organization, veterans that needs some help throughout the year, if they'll notify me. I represent two veterans groups here, a veterans group in Little Rock and another women's group, and we would like to know where our help is needed, and we can never find that out. I want to thank everybody that's on this commission with me and everyone that works with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well,
Let's stand as we're dismissed by prayer. Father, we thank you for this day and we thank you for all the many blessings in life that we enjoy. This time, Father, we're thankful for the opportunity to serve on this commission and help veterans the best ways that we know how. And Father, as we depart and go our separate ways, we ask that you'll be with each of us as we travel on the highways and the byways and get us home safely back to our families and our loved ones. Father, thank you again for the opportunity to serve. Thank you for Benton County and their hospitality that they've rendered to us. We also thank you, Father, for those special people that make donations that allow for the care for veterans to improve and make their lives worth living. Father, for those things, we're thankful. This is our prayer through Jesus. Amen.
amen. I think Carol wants to meet you. Carol, you have an announcement, right?
For the commissioners, there is lunch in the right next door. Has already been arranged.
Yes, Colonel House.
Todd has my state cell phone if any of you want it and think you might need to call me.
Yeah, I'm gonna call you at 2:00.
I don't answer at 2:00.
If I get arrested, can I give you a call?
Is this your packet to turn in? I'll set it up there. Is that your pen? Family?
Thank you.
Would you bring me a cup of coffee, Doug?
Okay, you're always on the move.
Oh,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Either way.
Thank you, sir.
I don't
Uh-huh.
have another one.
That's okay.
Yeah, you know, you heard you heard the orders.
What is that?
Paul, thank you, bud.
Sir, I gotta run.
You're a
Oh,
good
is this one
man.
for me? Oh, I got you.
No, you heard the orders.
So that and there.
Keep coming until otherwise notified.
Oh, that's-
I would have to, I would have to.
Be careful with your swan song. Don't do it too soon.
Yes, I will.
Well, as old as I am, I got to do it as quickly as possible, whatever.
I should do it every day.
You'll call the attorney general.
We would cover accommodations.
Well, sure.